Hi. I don't know if you all watch my streams, but if you do, you've seen a stream where I've said that spring is coming. Well, maybe it is. But also, we have hail and snow today. But also sun in the background. Who knows? Yeah. Hello. Welcome to this video.
Intro?
This will be a bit of a book wrap-up because I tied up some books started in March, and also a little bit of a vlog of our hiking trip into the marshes of Podlasie. Okay, so let me start with the first book that I finished up, which was Friday's Child by Georgette Heyer. This book is about two characters, well, a lot of them, that our hero and heroine are just too stupid to live. Georgette Heyer is a writer of historical romances and mysteries who did the majority of her work in the 50s. I am a huge fan of hers, and I do truly enjoy most of her work. I think her heroines tend to be very nicely fleshed out, that they have both strengths and weaknesses. Just, they're really nice. And the men are kind of nothing special. I've never considered any of them romantic interests to be particularly remarkable. They are just overall protective, supportive, and quite often go through a journey to become smarter or just better versions of themselves. Our hero is a
Viscount named Sherry.
and our heroine is a
Chick named Kitten.
kitten is like 16, so that straight up makes her not a heroine I can really relate to. Kitten is 16, Sherry is 25, and I said they are both dumb as fuck. Sorry for the language. I'm not going to swear anymore in the video. The book is 10 hours long, and it should have been a tenth of that. It should have been like 100 pages long novella, because there is not enough plot. The general plot is that Kitten is very, 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 very naive, and her husband is a rake. So she does something unseemly. He tells that the specific thing she did, say she goes gambling. So he says,
You cannot go gambling. You shouldn't have gone gambling with these people.
so the only thing that she remembers, like a child, is this people, and proceeds to gamble in a different day. Or she went to the horse racing, which is unladylike, on the Friday. But then because he said that it was bad, she tries the same thing on a Thursday, and everybody is very sympathetic to her because she's so young, so of course she doesn't understand the ramifications of her actions. But I don't have the patience for her. In general, everybody in this book is very stupid, and all of their problems would have been avoided if they talked about them. And they don't talk about a single issue that they are facing or that they have. Sherry is actually the most sympathetic, and to me he has the patience of a saint. He's also quite stupid and unreasonable. And what did he expect marrying a 16-year-old, which I don't condone, of course. But he honestly, well, he should have had his realization of his faults earlier or quicker. But I guess the most believable thing about this book is that it takes him time to become a reasonable man and not a rake after all. And I think that was the purpose of the book, essentially. Well, it is a romance. It's about a woman indirectly changing her rake of a man, which is a fantasy of some women, I know. And also becoming responsible is essentially fully taking over any and all responsibility for the success of the relationship, which is not something that's really appealing in this day and age. My point is, it was written for the housewives in the 50s, and it shows in the sense that in a time where the woman was supposed to be responsible for just the household and man was the breadwinner, and that was the default. And he also was the person who had all the legal rights but also responsibilities as for banking and stuff like that. Then he's supposed to be very responsible and protective. So this book doesn't appeal to me because Sherry doesn't turn into a more self-contained and reasonable man, but he turns de facto into Kitten's guardian and almost a parental figure. He just decides that it's his lot in the life to take over all the responsibility in their relationship. And that doesn't sound sexy, does it? Or appealing. Hi, I'm coming at you from Auchan, from a shopping trip. The book has two controversial issues, and they both stem from the perception and the concept of consent. One of them is I don't know, none of them are minor, except Kitten. Kitten is a minor, which is issue number 1. The age difference. Sherry is 9 years older at 25 than 16-year-old Kitten, and she gets married. So, you know, she gets married under what is today's age of consent in most places, in most states and most European countries, I believe. So that's somewhat icky. If that makes you feel better, she's not even implied to do any other things that except for getting married and kisses. She's not even implied to do other things that a minor cannot consent to. So that's a plus side of it. Still, it's controversial, though it happens in historical romance, especially if it was written in the 80s of before, and this one was written in the 50s. And Georgette Heyer usually handles age difference in her relationships in her books quite well. However, not really here, because Kitten is so immature and so much a child. Like, she's just not a grown-up, and that's not something that's pleasant to read. And the other issue of consent is the consent as in saying yes to, taking part in different activities. Sherry has a friend who's very hot-headed, and when he suffers, he does stupid stuff. One of those things is he kisses Kitten without her consent. Nobody is really bothered by the fact that she was kissed without her consent, because he was, just feeling down and he didn't really mean it. Nobody's truly angry at him. The only thing that they are angry at is that Sherry honorably has to call him out to a duel, and he's angry about it because the friend is so much better at pistols than he is. So because of that, that's the only Georgette Heyer book probably ever that I'm going to rate 2 out of 5, because it has its amusing moments, but I find it very hard to relate to the values presented in the book as obvious, and it didn't really amuse me, and it's supposed to be comedic, and I just cannot. Kitten is like Lydia from Pride and Prejudice. Just no impulse control, a single brain cell who is often just out of commission, and not an ounce of reason. No. Kireczkę. So, there was another book that I DNF'd. There was an audiobook that I DNF'd. It was The Setup by Falguni Kothari, and I DNF'd it halfway through. It was novella length, so about 3 hours, I guess. As I said, I DNF'd halfway through. The plot of the book is that an Indian American girl is set up on 3 dates with 3 prospective potential partners by her grandpa. And I didn't mind that because the grandfather wasn't really pushy, and she agreed to the dates, and they weren't really, there was no pressure that she would have to get married to any of the boys that she met. However, I have a problem with meddling people as a trope in romance novels. Relatives, like parents, grandparents, friends, who with good intentions manipulates either the circumstances or our protagonists to achieve a desired outcome. It makes me so viscerally angry. It gives me anxiety, makes me feel bad, makes me feel down, and so I went into the story with good faith. However, halfway through, it turns out that the grandpa was not clear in the specific I won't spoil it, but he kept some stuff from her about the dates, still without the pressure that she has to get married. However, some things were kept hidden, and the man's grandma is outright emotionally manipulative, in the sense that, oh, I will die soon, you have to give me grandkids and stuff like that. So I was I don't think triggered is the right word, but I was very, very upset. So I DNF'd, and I'm not going to give the book a rating because I am so against the whole concept of meddling that I don't think I can be objective enough to give it a rating. I don't know, if you don't mind those things, the narration is very nice, and it's lovely to be able to explore part of American Indian culture, but maybe not without the emotional manipulation. That's a no for me. And the last book that I'm going to mention today is going to be The AI Who Loved Me by Alyssa Cole. It was the first book by this author that I have listened to. It was an audiobook, and I was really recommended her works by people on the romance books subreddit. So I had high hopes, and they were exceeded, because, as you know, you can tell by the title, The AI Who Loved Me, that is going to be a sci-fi romance. However, I imagine it would be 100% a romance-focused story, and the setting will be the only sci-fi thing about it. However, there is a lot going on. There is a ton of world building that I really, really appreciated. I love world building. That's my favorite part about sci-fi, because that's the only thing that you usually can count on in sci-fi. Good plot, characterization and stuff like that is not a guarantee. It relies on a concept. Never mind. Sci-fi romance doesn't have to rely on world building. However, this one did, and it was a very nice surprise how much attention the author paid to different aspects of the world. Also, I mentioned in another video how I long for a distinct female voice, a distinct narrator, and in this book I got that. However, I was slightly disappointed because when I saw the audiobook, there was a huge picture of Mindy Kaling above the book, and in my mind it meant that the main character will be narrated by Mindy Kaling. She was there, but I didn't even notice it because I was so put off by the fact that that the main character was voiced by a different actress. Trinity Jordan was voiced by Regina Hall, and she does a good job, but her voice is way different. But still, I appreciate it. I got to experience a very distinctive female narrator. Still, like Florence Pugh, if you ever please do a book. But I was satisfied about it. The romance itself, it's interesting, but I'd say it gets as much screen time as Lee Weiss, so the AI, the male character's journey to becoming more human, more of a person. And it was a blast. I had a blast. It was fun. I binged it in one day. I definitely give it 5 stars out of 5 because I don't have any complaints about the plot or world building or anything like it. It was great, and it was very well produced as well. It has a full cast of characters with different voices. As I said, Mindy Kaling is there, but I missed her. I completely missed her. I thought that she was just there for promotion. Never mind. Still, I recommend it.
Mają sympatyczne ryjki. Są piękne. Cześć, pięknotki. Jakie jesteście eleganckie, że hej.
So as you've seen, we've met some alpacas, and this is a whole enterprise where I don't know whether they do like meet and greets with the alpacas, but I know that they produce wool, and I hope they sell it to like individual customers. If I get a chance, I'm going to go meet the alpacas and then buy the wool and make a sweater out of the alpacas that I've met, and it's going to be a magical experience. And that's it for today. I'm sorry for the abrupt ending. If you enjoyed this highly chaotic video and would like to see some more, subscribe, maybe leave a comment. Check out my social media, which are linked in the description box. I am Every Craft on Reddit, Instagram, and yeah, that's it. Papa.